My earliest memory of my father isn't from a birthday or a holiday. It's from the garage. His hands, always covered in black grease, would touch my head with a quiet affection that felt like he was passing something on to me, something unspoken. I never asked what it was, but it was clear that his world was here, among the engines and exhaust fumes, surrounded by rust and metal parts. And for a long time, I thought that was the world I was supposed to belong to as well. My father never talked about much. He never told me about his childhood or the things that made him who he was. He never told me about the anger that simmered beneath his surface, the secrets he kept hidden from the world. He just worked, and worked, and worked. His hands were always in motion, fixing cars, welding metal, and building things with his own two hands. That was his way of dealing with the world. He worked until everything was fixed, until every problem was solved. Or so I thought. But there are lies we tell ourselves, and there are lies we inherit. My father's lie was simple, at least on the surface. He told me he was just a mechanic. He said he wasn't interested in the criminal world, that he didn't know anything about the deals happening on the streets. But it didn't take long for me to see through that mask. Not that I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't understand the weight of the life my father was leading until the day it all came crashing down. It was a regular Tuesday, or at least it seemed regular. The police cars came out of nowhere, screeching to a halt outside our house with sirens blaring. I watched them from the window, fear rising in my chest like a cold tide. The knock at the door sounded like a hammer, pounding through the air, a sound that rattled my bones. My mother stood frozen, her hands trembling as she clutched the kitchen counter. I could hear her whispering prayers under her breath. When they came for my father, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They arrested him without a word, dragging him out of the house like a common criminal, shackling his hands as if he were a violent man, a threat. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. Hours later, when I finally understood, I wanted to scream. My father was not the man I had believed him to be. He wasn't just a mechanic. He had been a thief, a murderer, a man who had sold stolen guns under the guise of running a legitimate business. His name was now on a list that the police tracked. He was a man wanted for his crimes, not a working man who fixed cars to support his family. I felt the world slip away beneath me. I wasn't just a son of a criminal. I was now the son of a man whose lies had built the very foundation of my life. I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The moment I found out, I thought I would be able to outrun it. I thought if I just kept my head down and stayed in the background, I could move past it. But that's not how life works. The weight of your past, the mistakes of those who came before you, never truly leave you. It follows you like a shadow, lurking in the background of everything you do. In the months that followed my father's arrest, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to talk to. People at school, at the corner store, even the neighbors. They all treated me like I had inherited his criminal genes. I could feel their eyes on me, their whispers behind my back. They all saw me as the son of a man who had ruined everything. I couldn't take it anymore. That's when I found Dre, Spinks, and Rabbit. They were older than me, tough, street smart. They didn't care about my father's history. They didn't look at me with pity. They didn't even ask me about it. They just accepted me into their fold, like I was one of them. At first, it was small stuff. Selling weed, stealing from corner stores, running little errands that no one else wanted to do. But it didn't take long before I was pulled into something bigger. By the time I turned 17, I was no longer a kid trying to find himself. I was a part of something much darker. I was dealing in harder stuff now. Pills, crack, meth. The money came quickly, but so did the power. It felt good to have control, To have people looking at me with respect instead of fear. I was no longer Henry, the mechanic's son. I was Henry, the guy who could make things happen. I had a reputation now, and that felt good, like I had finally earned something for myself. But that feeling didn't last long. Every time I made a deal, every time I saw the fear in someone's eyes, I felt a little piece of me die. I had become the man my father was, the man who operated in the shadows, who hid behind lies, who destroyed everything he touched. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. The pull was too strong. I couldn't resist the rush. I thought maybe this was the life I was meant to live, just like my father had thought. The turning point came one rainy afternoon. Malcolm, my older brother, dropped Jordan off at my apartment. I didn't ask why. He didn't say much. But when he left, I found myself staring at my nephew, this little 6-year-old boy who looked up at me like I was his hero. He handed me a toy car, asking me to help him fix it. That moment, so simple, so innocent, felt like a slap to the face. I looked at the toy car in my hands, and then I looked at Jordan's face. The resemblance to my own childhood was uncanny. I saw myself in him. I saw how much he needed someone who would show him the right path. I saw how badly I had failed him, even though he didn't know it yet. "Uncle Henry, you're just like that guy on TV," he said, pointing at a cartoon mechanic. "You're good at fixing things, like him." I didn't know what to say. The words lodged in my throat. But as I sat there, holding that toy, I realized something. I was becoming my father. I was lying to everyone around me, pretending to be someone I wasn't. I was the fixer, but I wasn't fixing anything. I was destroying everything in my path. In that moment, I knew I had to get out. I couldn't let Jordan grow up thinking that this was the life to lead. I couldn't let him think that this was the path I had chosen for him. I had to change. I started small. I took a job at a local tire shop. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. It wasn't easy to get out of the game. Dre and the others didn't understand. They saw me as weak. They called me soft, said I was selling out. But I couldn't care less. I knew I couldn't keep living that life. The life of lies, of constant fear, of power that wasn't real. At night, I studied auto mechanics, learning how to fix cars just like my father had. It was grueling, long hours, but every time I worked on a car, I felt a small piece of my soul healing. I wasn't just fixing machines anymore, I was fixing myself. The temptation to go back was always there. I ran into Rabbit at the corner store a few months later. He looked at me like I was a traitor. "You really think you can just walk away?" he asked, a sneer on his lips. "You're soft, man." I didn't respond. I didn't have to. I wasn't that person anymore. And no matter what he said, I wasn't going back. The night Tasha told me she was pregnant, I felt my heart stop. I had never thought about being a father. I had never thought I was the kind of man who could raise a child. But when I looked into Tasha's eyes, I knew I couldn't walk away from this. I had a chance to make something right, to change the course of my life for good. "I'll be there," I promised her, though I didn't know what that would look like. But I was going to try. I had to. Change is never easy. There were nights when I thought about what I had left behind, about the life I could have had if I hadn't walked away. I thought about Dre, Spinks, and Rabbit. I thought about the money, the power, the respect I had once commanded. But I knew that world wasn't for me anymore. I had a daughter on the way. I had a chance to be a better man. I visited my father in prison, not to seek his forgiveness. He had none to give, but to seek my own closure. I needed to face